Welcome back to Wellness with Delaney. Today I'm with Vinny Lingham. He's the executive producer of Animal, the carnivore documentary that swept the nation and just made such an amazing impact in the animal-based education wheelhouse. So, Vinny, I am so excited to chat today. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks, Danny. Really good to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Of course, no, the pleasure's all mine. Okay, so you were the executive producer in Animal, and let me just tell you, watching the documentary, it is so beautiful. Like the cinematography alone, I mean, even if somebody isn't about the animal base or carnivore living, like it's just a beautifully shot documentary. So I just wanted to give you kudos there.
Thank you.
Of course, yeah. And so I'm really curious just about your experience in this documentary. Like, how you saw things going into it, what your experience was interviewing so many superstars and where you stand now. So kind of just going to the beginning, when you set out to create this film, what was your desire? Like, where were you kind of mentally there?
So, when you go carnivore, it's really hard to explain to people why you do what you do. They think you're crazy. I mean, my lunch right now is this bison.
It looks so good.
Yeah, it's great by itself. I'm just having some like nice bison tomahawk, um, and that's it, right? There's nothing extra with it. And so when you go out to a restaurant and you just order the steak, and people kind of look at you funny. Would you like some sides? No, you know. And when you go to a friend's house, the same thing. Like, hey, what are you cooking? I'll just have some meat, nothing else. And like for most people, it's very weird. When I first heard about it, I was like, this is crazy. I heard about it about 10 years ago, probably. So like very early on. And what I wanted to do was I felt compelled to produce something which in less than 90 minutes, you can give it to a friend and say, go and watch this. And then we can talk about it afterwards, because all the questions you have, the documentary pretty much covers. And it's just a way for people to explain why they live this lifestyle to their friends. And that's why I made it. I made it because I wanted to explain to my friends why I did it.
That's
And
amazing.
in a way that's like logical, and that comes from a medical perspective, and like how we've been lied to by so much in society and in the food industry and etc. And like it's all the garbage of the pharmaceutical companies are trying to sell to us. And I mean, just something as simple as diabetes, right? Like blood sugar issues. I've got family members that have had major issues. They're on carnivore now. Guess what? Their blood sugar comes down. They stop taking insulin. They stop being sick from taking insulin. It just changes your health. And I just decided that there wasn't anything good out there where I could just hand it over to someone, and so that was it. That was the reason and rationale behind it.
I love that. It's kind of altruistic too. Like, no,
Mhm.
here's the pitch. Here's all the information, all the questions you'll ever have. And it is a pretty it's like it's not super short, but it's a very much like concise documentary. Like you
Mhm.
use up all of the time really, really well. And it doesn't drag on anything. It's not very long. Like it's a pretty easy watch in that regard. So are you then like full meat and water carnivore?
Yeah, so I don't have any issues with like having um, berries and maybe some avocado, and I have yogurt. So I'll have like some Icelandic skyr yogurt, maybe a bit of raw honey here and there. But I go through periods where I just have meat, like for like weeks at a time, months at a time. Um, but and then and cheeses, of course, as well. So I have some cheeses here and there. And so I'm a bit more flexible when I travel, but when I'm at home, it's just meat, because like I can control my environment and have meat. But again, I don't have any issues with having other things. I do have issues with eating grains and high fiber diets. So I stay away from fiber. I'm like anti-fiber. Fiber is just the worst thing for me. The only fiber I can take in is maybe some strawberries and maybe a handful of like berries, whatever. And I don't have a problem with that. I think it's more like soluble fibers. But I stay away from any like people think I'm crazy. Like I try I go. My aim is like a zero fiber diet every single day. I try and have as little or to no fiber as possible. Um, and so, but everyone has a different range and a spectrum that they can be on with a carnivore diet. You get someone like Michaela Peterson, who's lion diet, right? Just beef, salt, and water, and intense on that. And I have oysters, raw oysters. I have fish. I have I don't really eat a lot of chicken, but I'll have some chicken if I'm traveling and there's no other option. Um, Occasionally I may have like a little bit of a potato here and there, but if I try and be less than 25 grams of carbs a day, so really on the on the ketogenic side. Um, but sometimes you slip up. Sometimes you're like, on a plane, just there's nothing to eat, and you're really hungry, and they give you a meal, and you're like, okay, I'll have. But again, like I don't have a medical reason not to. I just choose not to. So, but I think like I feel the best when I'm not eating any carbs. So
Hmm.
I'll put that out there. Like if I'm having a zero carb week or month, I feel amazing. The moment I go and travel, I went to Italy and I went to Europe. It is really hard to get enough meat in a day. It's really hard. You go to any restaurant, you go to any place, it's like a 6 ounce piece of meat. It's very different the way I eat when I'm here. So um, yeah, but if I was on like tons of drugs and medication and on instant medication, I would just go zero carb, and like that's the ideal for most people. Um, but I do appreciate that it's not always practical and simple. Eggs becomes a staple because when you're traveling, eggs are easy. Like I take when I'm flying, I often take 4 eggs in a little tin, and I take it onto the plane with me. And I have some eggs and a salt and pepper, and that'll keep me full for hours on a 3 or 4 hour flight. So you can get that through TSA as well. So it's pretty easy just to take your own food and not have to eat the crap that's in the airport. But airport food is the worst. If you ever get stranded in an airport and you're there for like a layover and things, it's hard getting food.
Oh my gosh, it's the worst. I'm waiting for airports to start carrying like carnivore bars or something, because I feel like, and even if you do try to get some places, like I'm in the West Coast, so we get some of the
Mhm.
bougier food, but I mean, you're paying ridiculous amounts for like, a bag of jerky that might be like $7 at home is going to be twenty
Oh, and
dollars
it's
at
got
the airport.
sugar, and it's got sugar in it. Like the
Yeah.
jerkies, I have South African biltong. I'm from South Africa, but
Ooh.
biltong's great because there's no sugar in it. But
Yeah.
American jerky is pretty horrible for you unless it's
Yeah.
sugar free. And
Yeah.
then even the eggs at the airport, like you get these little stands that have the eggs. Like these eggs are horrible, like cage eggs. It's just like But like if you're in a bind, you're in a bind, right? So what
Hmm.
I bend the rules when I had a choice really, or when it's a really tough situation. But for the most part, I think eating meat every single day and eating clean cuts of meat is the way to go. For me, most mornings I wake up, I won't even have breakfast. But if I am hungry, then I'll have like 4 eggs. I had 4 eggs this morning and an avocado for breakfast. Um, and then lunch, I'm having some bison, and dinner, I'm having some salmon. That's it.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, I love that. I'm kind of similar to you where like I aim for like two carnivore meals a day, but I flex a little bit. Like I'll eat certain plants, right? Like you
Mm.
won't see me near any goitrogenic plants or like a lot of grains and different things, but fruit, some avocado, like
Yep,
or like if I'm traveling, I'll flex a little bit as long as I'm getting enough of like the meat and eggs.
exactly.
That's always a non-negotiable. So I'll be that person that literally like brings my own beef with me on vacation to make sure
Yeah.
that I get
Oh, I've
enough.
done that before on planes. I've
Oh
had like
yeah,
steak strips and stuff. I'm with you. Um,
1000%.
I don't think there's anything really wrong with fruit unless you've got like uh, insensitivity. So
Yeah.
your body can't handle it. So then, and obviously everything in moderation. You shouldn't be having like 200 grams of sugars from fruit per day. Like that's just nuts, right? But if you have if you have a little bit of fruit, and again, I try and go with the low fiber fruit for the most part. So I think that's okay. But because the way I look at fruit is fruits are meant to be eaten. They've got seeds. The plants create the fruit for for consumption. But like I don't touch anymore. I don't touch spinach, asparagus, oxalate ridden stuff. I stay away from nuts.
Mhm.
I stay away from a lot of all these like Sally Norton's book's very interesting on toxic superfoods or the things you shouldn't eat. I basically stay away from all those things. The one thing that I think is so far looked like it's not an issue is just fruit seems to be fine, but vegetables and weeds like spinach and crap like that is just horrible for you. And when you first go on carnivore, you start detoxing. You start, if you go hardcore carnivore for like 60 days, you will go through oxalate dumping and a bunch of other things, and it's like ugh, it's not fun.
Absolutely. So for you, since you don't have like a medical reason, you just kind of you came into it for other reasons. What was the thing that made you want to go carnivore?
Mm. At the time, I had a medical reason. I had a gut issue, and I was struggling to get my echinacea in my gut up. It was like zero. And I spoke to a friend who did the carnivore diet, and he told me that he went on carnivore for 3 months, and it all came back. So that was the reason I started, and I think for the most part, carnivore has resolved a lot of my gut issues. But it's also identified what the problem was, which is, you know, grains. So high fiber grains, pastas and breads and all that stuff. So I just stay away from all that. I eat is I'm closer to what they call animal based than carnivore, but I do go carnivore from time to time. And often just maybe it's just a flash. I started doing a lot of fasting as well, like OMAD fasting. I'll probably do like a 2 day fast this weekend. And I'm gonna try and work up to a 3 day fast, which apparently is really, really good, 72 hour fast. So I throw those in. But I think the one cool thing about carnivore is you get enough protein in if you're a carnivore. And if you're not carnivore, you tend not to get enough protein in for muscle building. So my workouts suffer if I don't get enough protein in. And I've actually I've started steering away from using protein shakes as a you know a way to hit those targets, because what I find with protein shakes is my gut doesn't like it as much. It's actually winds up being highly processed if you think about it. It's like, well, even if it's way isolated, and I think if I just have a steak, you know, and they'll get the exact same amount of protein, and it'll be the thermic effect is going to be higher, because with the protein shakes you get hungry very shortly thereafter, and so it kind of just goes in, and it's a quick source of protein, but yeah, I've tried to be as natural as possible when it comes to eating food these days, and just eat like whole foods, just meat and whatever else.
I love that. Yeah, same. And it's amazing how good you feel when you're actually eating enough of the right stuff. And most people I feel like don't understand, because people will be like, well, where do you get all these vitamins? And I'm like, well, you are what your food eats. So like my food eats these plants that I can't necessarily break down and utilize, and then I get all the nutrients that I need, and that blows people's mind. Are you a big fan of like the organ meats?
I take I actually take some of Paul Saladino's Warrior blend.
Mm-hmm.
It's heart and liver. I take like 4 caps a day. I don't take the full 6 because I eat enough. I just take extra 4 a day. And then I take nose to tail, I think it's called, oyster, dried oysters. I think Brian Sanders' company. So I take like 2 to 4 of those a day. So I just take that as an extra like boost. And then I actually take a bunch of supplements. I take True Niagen, NAD. Um, I take I have a nighttime stack, so that would be like inositol, magnesium. Um, uh, what else do I take? Glycine. Just get a good night's sleep, and sometimes occasionally melatonin to get my sleep going. The morning I wake up, I take. So I have a cup of decaf coffee, um, or even I take the Audacious Nutrition's like keto spike to get into ketosis, and I'll put like 3 teaspoons of MCT oil. So it's like a kind of a bulletproof coffee. I'll have one of those. I take some ketone IQ shots as well throughout the day if I need it. If I'm fasting, I take ketone and just have a meal. But or if I'm fasting until a meal, it's got one with they got one with like 100 milligrams of caffeine, which is a nice little shot there. Um, the morning I take lipoic acid, acetyl L-carnitine, some spermidine, um, a couple other supplements that I take, vitamin D, D3, K2, those is a stack, and then yeah. But I think when it comes to like what should you take, do your own research and customize your nutrition stack for your own blood work.
Mm-hmm.
People going, "Oh, Vinny, you take 5,000 IUs of vitamin D a day. I should take the same." Like, no, I've got dark skin, and so I have more melanin in my skin, and so I block the sun's ray more efficiently than someone else who's light skinned, and so the vitamin D levels are going to be very different to different people. So you're going to have toxicity if you take the same level I take, and I don't spend a lot of time outdoors, which is why my vitamin D levels are naturally quite low. And like I have a lot of work indoors. I try and spend more time outdoors, but even when I'm there, unless the sun is hot enough, and like some days I'm in Hollywood right now, and some mornings there's just no sun because it's like, there's this like marine layer that comes in there, so I don't get enough sun. So I have to take the vitamin D, but it applies to everything else based upon your particular health profile, genetics, everything else, you should just customize your nutrition stack for that.
Absolutely. And that's so important. I'm really glad you touched on that. I know, like, for me, even being a health and wellness coach, the amount of DMs of girls I get, like, asking exactly what I take. And I'm always hesitant. I'm like, okay, like, I'm transparent about what I take, but this does not mean you should take this too. Like, I'm
Yeah, exactly.
specifically, there are certain things that I do say, like, oh, everyone can benefit from this, right? Very few things, but like most of the supplements that like you're going to take need to be customized to your own lab work. And so I'm a huge fan of blood work. Okay, so then with the documentary, what would you say was the most surprising thing that you learned as you were filming and creating with so many superstar doctors and influencers and experts in the carnivore world?
You know, they're all fantastic, and I'm glad to call them friends now because we became very friendly after filming it. So, Anthony Chafee and Rob Sires and Sean Baker. These are, they're really, really like the titans of industry.
Yeah.
Or what's the industry of the category, I should say. The most surprising thing is, well, I learned a lot more than I thought I would going through the documentary, because when I did it, I thought, okay, I know a lot of stuff about the carnivore diet. I've watched hundreds of hours worth of videos. I know a lot, and then but when you engage with these guys, like even Dr. Philip Avadia, and he wasn't he unfortunately we couldn't get him on. It's pretty just schedules didn't work. But having had dinner with him and Anthony Chafee and Rob Sires, and like you just learn so much from these guys. And then you have these like sort of edge cases and questions that you have, and they're able to answer it and contextualize in a way that you didn't even think about. And I think these guys, there's such a wealth of knowledge and information from these guys that we have. We have so many hours of footage to condense it down into 90 minutes was quite a feat. So I think that was most surprising to me, is how much more knowledge there is out there than what any one of us watching this thinks we know.
Yeah. Do you think there would ever be a part 2 in the future?
Look, this is not a very profitable business, making documentaries.
Yeah,
it was
that's
it
fair.
was it was a passion project. It was I put $1 million in personal cash, and I don't think I'll make money back for years. But it's kind of a gift to the carnivore community, and I'm hoping that over time it actually becomes something that there's some value to the community.
Yeah, well, I can say I think it provides so much value. The way it clearly educates, even the way you just like put the interviews together was so, like, for my brain, it was so organized. I loved it. Where I've like, I've read educational books, watched documentaries, all this, where like I feel like I'm bouncing around. I almost have to take notes because it's like that, the crazy guy with all the red strings.
Yeah,
Like, this
yeah.
was so just like chronological in its own way. And I loved it. I thought it was like so beautiful and really educational. I put it on with my whole family in a vacation house. And I was like, even the people who don't want to listen to this are going to be listening to this. Like, I had it super loud and I'm making everyone listen to it because I just think it's so important.
Good.
Even if someone doesn't want to go carnivore, just to know the benefit of eating at least animal based and getting back
Yep.
to a more natural diet. So one thing I absolutely loved was hearing, it was I think mainly Chafee talking about just the sustainability component, because a lot of people do think that like cows are contributing to climate change, or like that animal agriculture is the issue, when really it's like the monocropping and
Yep.
industrial ag in the plants. Was this something you already knew, or did this blow your
No,
mind?
that blew my mind actually. When Chafee was going on about that, that was like, wow, incredible. We actually dug a little further into it, and it turns out that monocrop culture is also, so we're losing our bees because we are destroying the plants that are out there. And bees are the one of the most like, if bees disappeared from Earth today, we would have a really big problem very quickly. We would be basically starving to death within like 2 years or 3 years. Bees are so important, and so when we create these monocrop sort of agricultural tracts of land, the amount of bees that get either destroyed or just robbed of their supply of pollen is kind of mind blowing. And the other thing is, like, when we dug into these topics, remember it's from the perspective of someone who's an independent filmmaker. I just started my own production company. This is my first movie. I'm doing two more, just see how it goes. I wanted to make movies, so that's my goal for this. And I wanted to make my first movie something I was passionate about. But more importantly, it's something where I am not a special interest group. So I have, if you watch this, it makes no difference in my life whether you go eat meat or stop eating, the crap that's served out there. And so, when you watch the Game Changers or one of these other documentaries, it's all sponsored by Impossible Meats and
Yep.
and all this other crap, right?
Yeah.
All these other documentaries, especially the veganist documentaries, is sponsored by Kellogg's or sponsored by, I'm not sponsored by anyone. I'm a tech guy. This is my personal experience. I don't make money if you stop eating this stuff or you stop eating meat. If you go buy, burgers from Burger King and just eat the patties, I don't make any money. I'm not even a shareholder. So my goal was to put something where it's like, this is an independently made film and financed, and so I could put whatever I wanted into this. There was not a single topic that was off limits. I was like, let's explore this, that, and we did that, and we did it with the viewpoint that we just want the truth to come out, and we want people to feel that this is something. So that's why I'm saying it's a kind of a gift to the community. Like, guys, it's up to you guys to get this out there, have people watch it, have people reflect on it, and determine what the truth is for themselves. But it's not propaganda, which is what you see in other documentaries on food.
Yes. No, I'm so glad you said that. Okay, the Game Changers specifically. I always try to get through a whole episode without saying this, but then always end up telling everyone anyways. I was vegan for like 5 years. And not only was I vegan, I was part of like a vegan startup that was educating on whole food plant-based. And so the Game Changers came out during that time, and I was so excited. I had like a watch party. I made my now husband, then boyfriend, watch it and was like, you have to be vegan. I have tears in my eyes, right, on my moral superiority grind, just being like, this is gonna change your life. And then fast forward to now, right? Totally swung. But then when I started looking into it, I'm like, oh my gosh, all these vegan food companies are behind this. Like, they actually stand to gain a ton of profit through this documentary. Like, you have to follow the money. Don't just follow the science, follow the money, because a lot of the science is funded by somebody who can largely grossly benefit from you watching it.
You're 100% right. Like, whenever someone quotes, oh, look at the science, I'm like, who's funding the science? Oh, no, that's not important. That's peer reviewed by other people who are being funded by the same people. Like, this is how this whole science situation has gotten out of control. There is like absolutely no accountability for corruption in the academic world, because they rely on big pharma, big agriculture, and big food to fund the studies that tell you what to eat, what not to eat. Just break it down from first principles. This is why if you watch a documentary, you just listen to Chafee speak and enunciate exactly like how we've evolved to what we're eating today. It makes a lot more sense. And quite frankly, I feel a lot better on a carnivore diet than any other diet.
Oh, so much better.
Even fruit and like maybe like some yogurts and stuff, I don't feel as good. I mean, I have it doesn't need to make calories, or maybe but it doesn't like impact me in a hugely positive way. But it's way better than if I have like a pizza, right? I feel horrible after pizza. So like I've moved. I would say I'm 90% of my calories come from meat right now.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at. And ideally, I want to get up to 100%, but I'd have to stay at home, and I do travel a lot.
Yeah, there's definitely that component for flexibility. But I don't know about you, but I've even noticed for me, like, all the symptoms I used to get from plants when I eat mainly animal-based, if I go travel and I have something out of the plan, I react way less than I used to, because my body isn't like at its full capacity for like toxic load. So I think that's really amazing, is you do kind of develop that like flexibility, because like if you're living at this like state of like, my bucket is full, anything's going to cause me like my toxic overflow, right? But then you like get those toxins down, your body can like detox and function, and your liver can help. It's pretty amazing to see what happens.
Metabolic flexibility is something which I think it's a little overlooked, and I've been playing around with it, and that's why I've been having some carbs in my diet to try and figure out how to make it work. But if I have any carbohydrates, at this point, my blood, I wear a glucose monitor to test. My sugar levels actually go up quite significantly, maybe 120, 130 for a while. And that's if I'm thinking about this. Like, if I'm just eating a carnivore diet and just eating meat and steak, and now I bring in a whole bunch of carbs, it rises, and it doesn't want to get absorbed into the cells, because the cells just don't want it. And I actually went and did some research on ChatGPT, and it's actually very normal when you're coming off a zero carb diet. The moment you eat carbs in your body, doesn't know what to do with them, and you kind of feel like sluggish. So it's very interesting that we can live on a zero carb diet. Your body is meant to be in ketosis. That's like the default mode for your body. When you add all these other things in, changes it. Even your teeth, right? People have a lot of teeth problems from sugar, but no one's ever had teeth problems from eating only meat. Meat
True.
doesn't corrode the enamel in your teeth, but all the sugar and carbohydrates do. So if you think back, like over time, I mean, humans, our teeth are meant to eat meat. Because
Hmm.
anything other than meat, we eat lots of sugars and fruits and whatever else. We before we had toothbrushes and toothpaste to clean them out, we would have lost our teeth and been unable to sort of really survive.
Yeah, very true. And I mean, even at a developmental like standpoint with like eating steak in the wild, right? The way it's going to develop your
Yeah,
palate, there's so much there. Okay, and
yeah,
so I don't want you to give away anything that like people need to see in the documentary. So like you can stop me or you can like talk around something. But okay, the whole Kellogg situation
yeah.
with the like, can we dig into this a little bit? Because I like had heard some whisperings about how Kellogg's was founded on such corruption, but like this documentary actually blew my mind when it comes to the cereal industry.
Yeah, and I think for large, the reason we say what we say is first of all, like, we're interviewing doctors and they have a viewpoint that they want to express. Um, we do know that there's been a lot of mainstream media suppression of the documentary. So we have tried with the PR firm to get onto every major news outlet. No one wants to carry it. These are all big advertisers, right? So because we've gone after Kellogg's in the documentary and we've included the commentary, I think that there's been a bit of backlash against the doc. I mean, we just through the carnivore community, we were number one in 5 countries simultaneously last month when we launched it, and not a single media outlet was able to report on this or give us any kudos because, and this maybe it's a conspiracy theory, but I can tell you now, like it's very strange that nobody wants to report on a documentary that is number one on Apple in 5 countries.
It's a little fishy.
Yeah, it's a little fishy. So anyway, and this is why I'm doing interviews like this and I'm talking about it because I think that um, it needs to be a grassroots movement. If people are watching this and then they go watch the documentary and they go, actually, this makes a lot of sense. I like it. Tell a friend. If everyone just got one friend to watch it as a result, hopefully two or three, I think this could spread and can continue to grow. I mean, right now we definitely haven't got any mainstream media attention or whatever else around this. It's a very niche documentary, but we still every day we're getting sales and downloads. People are downloading it. It's not huge numbers, but we've had people post on Instagram how it's changed their life and how they were. One guy was crying about it, how it's like how it touched him, and that's great. And I think that was the goal. The goal was like, I guess if when I did the math on like spending $1 million to make a movie like this, it was for me. It was like, could I save or change the lives of 10,000 people? Yeah, it's probably worth it. If 10,000 people could just watch this documentary and say, "Hey, I'm off my diabetes medication. I'm living a happy life. Thank you very much." It's almost like a charitable contribution for me, and so that's part of the rationale, the economic rationale for why I did this. I just thought like I could change the lives of a lot of people because I've seen how it's helped so many people, and diabetics in particular. Like they just don't like. There are people out there who are just all so many people on insulin and they don't need to be on insulin. They really don't. But then they listen to their doctors who are part of the corrupt medical system. I mean, unless you're like in a really sort of bad state of diabetes, I don't know, some ketoacidosis level stuff, you probably are okay just eating meat and eggs and getting off the insulin and you'll lose weight and be healthier and happier. Now, I'm not a doctor, but I can tell you now, I've seen this happen with so many people. It's worth a shot, you know
Yeah.
and see how it goes. But there's so many stories of how people change their lives with being on the carnivore diet. It's just worth testing and exploring it.
Absolutely, yeah. And I really connected, even so it wasn't as much medical, but like having Bella, steak and butter girl on, and
Hmm.
like I have a really parallel journey with hers as far as like I spent years struggling with severe cystic acne and nothing worked. When I tell you, I was in like the hyperbaric oxygen chambers, I was getting laser, I was getting chemical peels, microneedling, special skincare products. I mean, the thousands of dollars that I spent trying to eradicate this when it was literally like it got better. I went off of birth control, it got better, and then I went off veganism, it got better, and then I I took a bunch of plants out of my diet and went on animal based, and it completely went away, and I couldn't believe it. And I was like, how many years did I struggle when I could? The answer was so easy. I didn't need to spend thousands of dollars. I didn't need to go to all these clinics and different places and order all this high end skincare. Like, it's actually so simple. And that's where I think what you're doing is amazing, because for a lot of people, I mean, think about how many different conditions out there, whether it's something as simple as like struggling to lose weight, or it is diabetes, multiple sclerosis, autoimmune diseases, like all these different things, acne. Like I experienced, when it's so simple, it's like just eat some steak and eggs
Mm.
and so many of your problems will go away. I mean, even now, like in Australia, a ketogenic diet is best practice for diabetes, which is pretty incredible. So I love what
It
you're doing.
should
Just
it
like,
should be. It
yeah,
should be. I don't know why
it's so
this is
simple.
even controversial. There are like a few edge cases where it's not, but I think for the 99% of people, this is you save the money on insulin. But the hard thing is that people would rather take insulin and eat their cereals and Kellogg's cornflakes in the morning and suffer than just
Yeah.
eat meat and get used to it. And it's actually delicious. I mean, I enjoy eating my steaks. I enjoy eating my meat. It's fantastic once you get into it. Now, the first month in carnivore, after like 3 weeks, I was like, "Oh, I can't eat another piece of meat. But you push through and you get there. And honestly, eggs are the best thing ever because you can make
Mhm.
omelets, you can make fried eggs, you can boil the eggs. There's so much you can do with eggs. And if you really, really need to get through a bad day, add some cheese to your egg and make an omelet or something like that. Like
Mhm.
there's so much you can do. Add some cottage cheese. There's so many things you can do and be creative. But eating the carbs is what really is causing a lot of pain for people, and
Yeah,
they just either
absolutely.
they don't realize it or they don't care. But yeah, this other thing, like doing this documentary for me was more about, hey, I'll put this information out there. If you don't want to use it, that's on you. If you want to suffer, you can't force people to stop suffering. If they, and it's a frog in boiling water situation. They get so used to a certain way of life that, the heat goes up more and more. They don't really notice it. They're like, oh, okay, it's a little bit worse, a little bit worse. And that happens in countries. It happens in all sorts of situations. Like, and people have to just wake up and say, "There's a better way. I need to live better."
Absolutely. And I think, yeah, what you're doing is giving people that option. And there is that level of like, some people might watch that and be like, okay, full carnivore. And some people might watch it and be like, okay, I'm just going to stop being vegetarian. Right. And it's like the information's in their hands and now they're empowered. And I think that's what's so important, is getting people empowered to make their decisions, not based off of marketing and people who have so much to gain, but based off of just real facts. And it says a lot that you guys have been censored and suppressed, given how well, like how much you guys have charted, that people don't want to cover it. That tells me you guys are doing something right, because I feel like
Hmm.
we all know that like big food and big pharma and big media are all in bed together. And so when they don't want to cover something, you probably pissed off somebody at the top, and that's just a
Yeah.
real thing. So along that vein with pissing people off, have you guys gotten any pushback from like the mainstream vegan or just like mainstream social media community?
Um, not as much as I thought we would. We had some errant comments on, um, on social media, but not as much as I thought. I think part of it is they don't want to bring attention to it, so they just keep quiet about it.
I see. Yes. Because then it's like any on social media, like any engagement pushes your
Yeah,
content out there a little more.
yeah.
That's rare. I feel like, I see I have to try to be gentle. I don't want to be too mean, but like, I feel like the blue hair community really does like to like poke the bear when it comes to this stuff. I see so much of like, somehow on my page I see so many like vegans making fun of carnivores, and I'm like, I'm on the wrong side of the internet right now, but they really get mad and they have to share about it. So that is kind of nice that you haven't had to manage that as
Yeah,
more.
yeah,
So
no,
then
it's been great.
with this, I mean, you mentioned that you're like kind of getting into more filmmaking. I obviously, like, if there's anything you can't give away, that's totally fine. But like, what can we expect from you just in the future?
Working on two full feature movies.
Wow,
I can't say too much more about it right now, but yeah, it should be fun.
that's
Some
so
good,
exciting.
some really good stars in it, and so we're still finalizing the cast and whatever else, but it's looking good.
I love that. That's so exciting. Well, I definitely am excited to see more and follow along on the journey. And so
Thank
just,
you.
yeah, of course, like in the wake of Animal, like what would you hope, like ideally, like what would the future of food and the future of medicine look like to you in your ideal world?
Um, I mean, I think people should get as much, uh, as much freedom to choose their own path in life. I'm not about uh, telling people what they should or shouldn't eat. Like if you can tolerate, I mean, I've told people like they're like, should I go to carnivore? I'm like, do you have any medical issues? No. Do you feel how you feel? I feel great. I'm like, okay, well then you probably don't need to go carnivore. You can just keep doing what you're doing. But just understand that sometimes there's long-term implications for what you're doing. Like if you're eating spinach every single day and you're accumulating all these toxins in your body, you may start getting osteoporosis at some point. Your oxalates bind with the calcium. So these things could happen. It may not be happening now. Or you may not be able to visibly see it. And if your blood work is fine, again, everyone's different. But I think it's more about being educated. I mean, you see, oh, hang on, my bone density is going down, or my I'm having this weird symptom, and I'm on 7 different types of drugs, and I got drugs for the drugs. And maybe it's time to look at a different way of living and eating. It's like I always try and go back to like the basics. If we were humans 2,000 years ago, without all this technology and all this other stuff around and mass production, and how would we survive? What would we do? What would we eat? How did those humans survive, and how did those generations keep making its way to the 20th century, 21st century? Well, I guess we probably, if we didn't need medical back then at the scale we have, we probably don't need it right now. So the conclusion I got is we're just getting poisoned everywhere we go, like low level poisoning, and it's catching up with some people faster than others.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And I think, that ties into so many things that I try to cover on here. But I mean, there's going to be people who have like the EMF sensitivity, right? Like and you see people who have like Botox sensitivity, different like
Yep.
toxins, right? And it can manifest in different ways, but I feel like we all have one toxic bucket, and you never know what's going to be the thing that tips it over, and food is
Exactly.
very commonly one for people, so it's really one to keep an eye out for, because we all need to eat, and it's something that we hopefully
Mhm.
all engage with, like eating a regular diet, right? And so it's important for people to realize how vital diet is in every other aspect of your life, because I feel like if your diet's toxic, you might see something cascade in a different area of your life that might have not
Mhm.
cascaded if you were eating it biologically appropriate.
On the topic of like food quality, I think a lot of people go for the cheapest products and stuff. They're very price sensitive, and if you have to be, that's understandable. If you don't, you should rather spend your money on better quality food, like getting the better eggs at the grocery store than the cheap cage eggs.
Yeah.
Probably better for your health. People would rather save whatever $100 a month now on just downgrading the quality of their food, and then go and spend $1,000 a month when they're 70. Like it makes no sense, right? People are weird. They're willing to sacrifice their future health for cheaper prices today. And I'm not talking about
Hmm.
people who can't afford it. I'm talking about people who can afford it, but they choose to rather spend the money on other crap. Like I've always made food quality for years my highest priority, and I don't always get it right. Like I think sometimes you think something is good quality, and then it's actually not. They've been lying to you. So as I've dive deeper into the topic, this is why I get down to let's just get high quality meat, and that's all you eat. You can't really screw it up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, food is medicine. So it
Yeah.
really is an investment. I definitely see the same way, where I'm like, I will go into debt over high quality food if I need to. That is like the last place that I would ever budget. It's so important to be eating high quality and like getting that like good grass fed. I mean, I know obviously not everyone can, like, so being sensitive there, but like if you can get good grass fed farm fresh like meats and pasture raised eggs, like it's only going to help you. Good raw milk, like forget about it. It's the best. So then, okay, I have to ask you, because I love to ask all the experts and everyone who just is really aspirational in their respective area of life and wellness. What is your biggest wellness goal right now?
Biggest wellness goal, I would say I want to drop like 20 pounds. So that's my goal, and I'd say probably 20 to 30 pounds would be my goal by the end of the year. So
Amazing.
just tightening up, being more hardcore carnivore, more intermittent fasting, more fasting days, and that's yeah. So it's like it's over a 6 month period. It's not too bad, but I think everyone should try and get down to a body weight where they feel. Yeah, if you've got 20 or 30 pounds to lose, which I do, that's 20, 30 pounds less weight that my legs and my knees have to carry.
It's a really
It's
good
health.
mentality.
It's healthier for you. So for me, my goal is longevity right now. focusing a lot on longevity and quality of health, and so that's where I would be focusing on.
Beautiful. Yeah. So where can people watch Animal?
Apple or Amazon Prime. You can download it there, or you can go to watch.animal.movie. It's a website that we've set up, and you can just buy it on the website. It makes it easier. Skip the app stores if you depends what device you have, but you can just buy it on your iPad and watch it there. But yeah, that's we try to make it easy and simple, and appreciate people spreading the word. If you like the movie, tell your friends. Get and tell friends who need it. Tell friends who are struggling with health issues and whatever else. Look, it's not a cure all, but I think for most people that they're suffering from some sort of weird disease or it's often just toxicity. It's often just there's some toxin that you're taking in, and when you go down to basics and just eat meat for a while, your body will naturally detox, and you may find yourself being a lot more healthier.
Amazing. And then where can people find you, like on socials, on the internet, and just in general to keep track of what you're doing?
It's just my name at Vinny Lingham on X or on Instagram.
Amazing. Well, you guys, if you are inspired by this episode, make sure A, that you watch Animal. I'm telling you, you're going to love it. And I want to hear your feedback on what you think. And B, please make sure to share this episode with your friends, share it on your stories, tag Animal, tag Vinny, and let's get the word out there. Let's spread just the news about this documentary and the incredible impact that it can have for so many people. As always, I love you guys and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and we'll chat soon. Vinny, thank you so much.
Thanks, Lenny. This was great. Thank you for having me on.